call this meeting to order of the Sheffield Board of Selectmen for Monday, August 19th, 2024. And thanks CTSB for being here to record the meeting. And if anyone wishes to record the meeting, please just let me know. First item on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of August 1st, 2024 and August 5th, 2024.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Our second item is an update from our town clerk. Phyllis.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So I just wanted to come to you this evening with a few election reminders. This Saturday, the 24th of August, we begin our first day of early in-person voting for the September 3rd state primary. So we will be open. It's also the deadline to register to vote or change your party affiliation. So if you're interested in doing either one of those things, you need to do so by 5 o'clock on Saturday. We will be here from 9 to 5 this Saturday, and then Monday through Thursday during regular business hours from 9 to 4. The deadline to request a mail-in ballot will be this coming Monday, the 26th, by 5 o'clock. Ballots that have been received by mail-in voters need to have them back to us by the close of polls, which is 8 o'clock on Tuesday the 3rd. If you have those ballots, they need to be brought to the town clerk's office. They cannot be taken directly to the polling location. They have to be logged in, and then we will deliver them there in a timely fashion. It's a state election, so you kind of have to do, I've had a few calls today wanting some information. It's a state ballot. I can encourage you to contact the Secretary of State's office. They have a great website. There is a link through the town website, through my department. There are early vote by mail applications, absentee ballot applications. You can change your party affiliation. You can register to vote online, any number of things. I think probably at this point, if anyone has questions, they should contact us, and they should do it sooner than later. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up about the early vote by mail applications and receipt of ballots, we've had several ballots returned to us. Ballots are not forwardable, unfortunately. So they either they reach their destination or they come back to us. We have some faulty addresses. We have some, for instance, I had a college student applied in July for all elections this year, which would mean the remainder of the 2 state elections, and it was delivered back to us a week ago, and I finally was able to reach her today to see what she wanted to do, and she said, "Oh, I'm not at college yet." So there's just there are a lot of moving parts to these elections. This one in particular, because of the time of year, it's the day after Labor Day. Any questions really should be directed at us at this point, and we'll do our best to try and figure it out. If you have recently moved or moved since you requested your ballots, probably in February or March, you might want to follow up with us if you have not received what you were expecting. There could be a reason. So I think that's really it. I would just advise you going to the website, calling the office. We'll come back and do this again in October when we approach the big election that everybody's anxiously awaiting. And I think that's it. I don't know if anyone has any questions. The election is on Tuesday, September 3rd at the Senior Center. That's our polling location. Polling hours are from 7 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Okay?
Any questions?
No.
Any questions? Great. Item number 3, resignation from the Board of Health. Rhonda has received a email from Josh Webb, sorry, I was a slight little, indicating that he has now moved out of Sheffield to Monterey and will no longer be able to serve on our Board of Health. So that was the second resignation that we were anticipating getting. So
I'll make a motion that we accept his resignation and offer him a letter of thanks.
Second.
motion made and seconded. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we have some appointment announcements tonight for the opening on the Board of Health. We have a letter from Barb Reeves asking to serve. We have a letter from Rick Abbott asking to serve on the Board of Health. and Mark Bacchetti, also asking to serve on the Board of Health. And we have the electrical inspector who is asking to be reappointed. That's Mike Lining. Do we need to wait 2 weeks on Mike?
No, I was going to suggest that you suspend at least for Mike, and then you decide what you want to do about the Board of Health.
Okay. So I would suggest we do suspend so that our electrical inspector at least can continue to do business. So
I'll make a
Do we need a
motion that
motion?
you go first.
I'll make a motion that we suspend and appoint him to his position as a.
And I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion made and seconded to appoint Mike Lining to the electrical inspector. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And what do you want to do about the opening on the Board of Health?
So your normal policy is to announce and then 2 weeks later make your appointment.
Right.
Right now, they do have 3 people. Well, actually, they have 4, but one is not attending meetings. So they can hold a meeting. They certainly have a quorum.
Okay.
But
Okay. Do you need a motion for that to continue as we have the 2 weeks?
no.
No, as long as you both agree that we'll just wait 2 weeks
I'm good
to
with that.
appoint. Okay. So then on item number 5 is the ratification of the appointment that we made last Thursday so that the Board of Health could move forward. So if one of you would like to make a motion to ratify the vote of appointing Nicole.
I'll make a motion that we ratify the appointment of Nicole Robarge to the Board of Health.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that will at least give 3 participating members the opportunity to move forward with their meetings. Item number 6 is the announcement of the advertisement for the town administrator. Last week we notified, or last meeting, we notified the community that Rhonda had given us her notice that she plans to retire, much to our dismay. We can't seem to get her to stay, so. So today we did release an advertisement for the town of Sheffield, population 3,400, located in the Berkshires, just north of Connecticut border, is seeking a town administrator for our rural community. Sheffield is a right-to farm community with an annual FY25 budget of $14 million and a proposed FY25 tax rate of $12.42. Free cash certification was $1.5 million. The town is part of the Southern Berkshire Regional School District, which is made up of 5 towns in the South Berkshire County. Sheffield has a 3-member select board and an open town meeting form of government. The town administrator is appointed by the select board and is governed by the general bylaws form of administration. The administrator also serves as the chief procurement officer and the ADA coordinator. This position is responsible for setting and presenting the annual budget to the 5-member finance committee. Please visit the sheffieldmass.gov website for further information under Select Board and Bylaws for a complete list of the position responsibilities. The following is a list of our current and upcoming projects. The town recently purchased a vacant building with plans to renovate it for a highway garage. The plan also includes construction of a second building on the same parcel. We are also in process of replacement of the sidewalks in the village green, and the town is currently administrating 2 mass work grants for roadway repairs and a recipient of the Community Development Block Grant for housing rehab. The ideal candidate would have a degree in public administration, business administration management, or at least 10 years of experience as a public administrator or other skills as follows. Experience as a town administrator or manager is preferred. Knowledge of municipal human resources, collective bargaining, and grant writing. Skilled with budget development and management. Expert ability to work with, motivate staff, boards, and committees and commissions. Open and approachable, excellent communication skills, both written and verbal. Ability to create a trusting and respectful atmosphere. A creative thinker with a strong work ethic, and the ability to listen and interact with our citizens. The starting salary is $95,000 with room for negotiations based upon experience, and a cover letter and a resume can be sent to townhall@sheffieldmass.gov by September 17th. Questions regarding this position should be sent to the email address above. And Sheffield is an equal opportunity employer. So spread the good word that we're looking for a new town administrator. Okay, item number 7 is the discussion and possible action on the Bunce Road Park proposal. Bob, you brought this forward to us.
I did. There was a piece of land that was taken back for back taxes and was pretty much a thought of putting a small park in that area. It's about 4.5 acres. We notified abutters to this parcel. The feedback was not very good. It was quite a bit of negativity. So I am of the mindset that we just auction this piece of property off and put it back on the tax rolls.
Okay, do you have any opinion on that?
Having read the comments, I would concur fully that that seems like the most reasonable approach.
We have a lot of Ashley Falls citizens with us. Do any of you have any input that you'd like to add before we make a decision on this? If you do, you need to come to the microphone. And if you don't, if you said what you needed to say in your letters, that's fine too.
I think I did pretty much. I mean, it pretty much comes down to.
They can't hear you on the
You have
TV
to go-
unless you go to the microphone.
Do this.
You really do.
That's okay.
We have to sit up here in front of you. And I do need you to identify yourself and your address.
Matt Farmer, 44 Richard Drive. So I think it comes down to, rather than spending the money on a park, which probably nobody's really going to use over in that area, the road's in disrepair, the trees are overgrown. I've been there for 20 years. My grandfather did the road back in 1986. He originally put it in. It was maintained one time in 2007. It was oil and stone. Since then, nothing's been done with it. It's in major disrepair. Catch basins are falling in. Trees are overgrown. I smash my mirrors off when you try to pass another car going by it. I think we should be spending the money on that instead of putting a park in.
Thank you for your input. Rhonda, do we own those roads?
Yes.
We do. Okay. Anybody else?
I have a question.
You have to come to the microphone, I'm sorry.
I'm Linda Hunker, 663 Clayton Road. If you say auction it off, then what would happen to it?
Somebody would buy it, put it back on the tax rolls.
So,
There's no access to that house.
There is a 30 feet of access to that parcel.
30 feet is non-buildable.
Right.
so that's clear, there would
But
have to
any
be a building on it.
But any abutter that would purchase it does have road frontage
So-
because there's several lines and could build frontage.
So that,
Or
so-
attach it to their property.
Right, so an abutter could attach it to their property to add extra land. So when we say auction it off, we recently did an auction, our treasurer did an auction of land that had been taken back from the town for unpaid real estate taxes. It was held here. We had an auctioneer. There was a room full of people who made bids and walked away with a piece of land that they wanted or chose to buy.
So,
So,
question with that though.
Yeah.
The town has an easement of drainage on that piece of property.
That's right.
They're responsible for maintaining the drainage on that road. How does that go if you decide to auction it off?
that's an interesting question for town council and for the,
Well, the easement would stay. There's no
Right,
way
the
to do
easement should
away
You
always-
with
would always have
it.
permission to clean the drainage ditches,
Yes.
so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
No matter who bought that.
Correct.
And the easement has nothing to do with where the right-of-way is. Where is the right-of-way?
It's right.
It's between 270, between our property and
We,
the property.
no, actually, that's on the other side.
We have the drain, we have the water.
You have a right of way through the water, the
Yeah.
actual right of way is over on the south side.
Almost across from Nancy Lane.
Yeah,
It's behind my house at 204 Bunce Road between 274 and 248 Bunce Road.
I never knew there was a right-of-way to those four.
Very overgrown, it's a V culvert that is not accessible. And there's pipes that run under my property and
Right,
dump into
right.
another
It's a big
drain.
ditch.
So it would only be useful to somebody that it abutted to. at this point.
Yes.
More than likely.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, yeah, come forward.
Molly DiGiovanni, 204 Bunts Road, Ashley Falls. I've actually been watching this property since it was first taken February 22nd, 2021. I've made several phone calls to the town asking about its status, when it would go to auction. I've heard many different things. I was told it was under state review at one point. I called when the recent auctions were happening to find out why it wasn't on that list. Is there any reason why the town wouldn't entertain an offer prior to going to auction from an abutter?
Because we're not allowed to.
Not allowed to.
Yeah, unfortunately, the state requires that everybody get the same opportunity, so y'all that live bordering it don't get first say on it. There's no right of first refusal, so you'd have to attend the auction.
And this land was in a trust. The town purchased the road that was in a trust, but did not purchase the land at that same time.
We never purchased the road.
The road was initially a private road.
That doesn't mean we purchased it.
Okay, so you.
We took over,
We inherited it.
Acquired it,
Right.
excuse me, acquired it.
Yes.
Okay, so, but they never acquired the land.
Correct.
Okay, that went with the trust. Now, is it safe to assume that this trust has, with this taking, been dissolved? Because the last recorded trustee would not communicate with attorneys to let any abutters proceed with communication?
What I know is that we took the land for failure to have taxes paid. So
Do
the
we know where
trust is,
those tax bills were being mailed to?
I don't have that answer off the top of my head.
and this was approved by the state for taking.
Yeah.
We did not approve it. It goes to the state, they review it.
How long is the wait for the auction, given that it was taken 3.5 years ago?
Well, we're
It
hoping,
was not taken 3.5 years ago.
I pulled it
The
up on the Registry of
state
Deeds.
did not approve the taking until
What is the document recorded in the
Probably-
Massachusetts Registry of Deeds, February 22nd,
when,
2021?
you remember exactly?
I don't. I'd
It was
have to
like
look
June. The process started,
Okay.
but the actual granting of the property to the town of Sheffield was within the last few months.
So how long is this process for the next auction period?
so we've got another auction that's being put together. We just did our very first ever auction. But to my knowledge, the town's never done it before.
Yep, had properties from that same beginning date.
Correct, correct.
So the process, this was considered land of low value because of the restrictions on it, and it's not a buildable piece of property. So that has to go through the state, and we never know. You know, they take their time depending on what their workload is from us and other towns. We do now have that clear, but I cannot tell you when the next auction is going to be. She's working on another one, but I can't give you a date.
Okay, thank you.
Will we all be notified when that auction, all the abutters, will we all be
Yes.
notified?
No. No, you'll have to,
So how do we know? I mean,
I guess you'll have to pay attention to the announcements coming from the town.
I just want to clarify something.
Your name and address?
My name is Brian Sider. I live at 10 Richard Drive, which is at the top of the Bunce Estates. That lot was designed as a drainage basin, right? So anyone that built on it, they're not restricted to necessarily engineer the drainage to perform the way that it currently does, because it's technically a single-family lot, although it's not buildable. But I just wonder how that works, where you auction off and then they say they go and bulldoze it, make a flat field. Now all of the drainage for 100 different properties now have nowhere to go.
That's right.
Right?
Well,
There's no real restriction on them doing that.
The easement
The
is there.
easement is the restriction.
Which protects all of you for the drainage to still be part of the package.
Okay.
Which-
It could become
which-
a cost if they do that incorrectly. That's my concern.
Well, I guess y'all just have to be really careful about who buys that piece of land.
We can't be careful, you have to be careful.
We can't be careful at all.
You know, we don't
If
get-
you're the highest bidder, you get it. If they're the highest bidder, they get it.
God forbid it all, it was promised us.
Yeah, but with the easement, you're responsible to take care of it.
That's right.
Well, the town's responsible to take care of drainage. This is a town road,
Only as for the road,
which goes into that lot.
and as long as they do not change it or alter it to
Correct,
not
I'm
conform.
totally there. I'm
That's the
totally-
easement.
I'm totally there, but if they do change it
then,
You're responsible for dealing with it.
There's nothing saying they can't do that.
there is an easement that says they can't do that.
So as long as they follow the easement, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And that's how we feel as
They're not gonna change
well.
that easement though, and they're gonna, like you say, bulldoze a lot, and then
Change the flow.
that's fine, you know, how that works too.
Sorry, Voice 60 Main.
Well, you have no choice but to come up, because I'm not talking to you if you don't.
Everybody else is not coming up. So everyone's saying there's an easement, and no one's saying who's responsible for it.
The towns.
No, they just said they're not.
No,
If the
No, they said they're responsible for the easement.
we're responsible for the easement.
They did say that.
Okay.
They did.
Which is the drainage. I'm sorry, I missed it with all the conversation.
Just the drainage from the
Which
road.
which is the drainage from the road at this point, yes.
So if they do change it, it's,
You're responsible for telling them they can't change that. Correct.
The building inspector would probably fall under his purview, zoning and building.
that's what I want to know is who's responsible. Like, you can say they're changing it.
When
but
you buy a
say
piece
it's
of
the
property,
building inspector, so because he's the enforcer.
when you purchase a piece of property that has an easement on it, it falls to you as the buyer to understand what your responsibilities are regarding that easement.
Right, so I'm asking the question because in my world, when there's an easement on it, there's an organisation that is responsible for looking at it yearly and making sure, but I'm in a different
mean a
world than you,
conservation
but
You're
that's
in a
why I'm
different
asking
world
you the
than we
question.
are.
I am, but that's why I'm asking you
Yes.
the question. Because usually somebody has to check on these things in my world.
Quite frankly, I really don't see anybody but the abutters having any interest in this piece of property.
Okay.
Truly, there really isn't any reason for anyone other than an abutter to
I
ask
just
for
wanted
that
to understand the process.
Thank you. And to be clear, maybe, what was the potential that an abutter could do with that property? Even as an abutter, what is the potential as far as building wise with that?
I don't have the answer to that question, Linda. I'm not the building inspector, but I certainly would think you can't build another house on it.
You could do an ADU.
An ADU,
What they can't do is build something that impacts the easement.
right.
The easement would be pretty much off
Is that what you're looking to try to find out? In other
But
words,
yes.
they can't compromise the easement in what
Right,
they
but there is
suggest.
still about 2/3 of that property that does not have an easement for drainage on it. There's only about 1/3 of that property being used for drainage.
So somebody
The
could
rest of it
potentially put an
ADU if it falls within zoning bylaws.
You would still have to have proper road frontage to be able to even build that property.
Not an ADU.
Not an
Not as an
ADU.
ADU.
Now, if you're
An accessory dwelling unit, in other words, an
The
addition.
town, the accessory dwelling unit, the town just passed a bylaw that allows accessory dwelling units.
Like a mother-in-law's apartment.
At our last town meeting, there was a bylaw approved
Okay.
that allows a mother-in-law type apartment.
and you don't need, and
Wait a
what's the
second,
frontage
sorry.
for that?
There-
It would go with your
It
house.
does.
It goes with your regular house.
So they can build a garage, they can build
Yes.
a
Yes.
mother-in-law's
Yes.
quarters, they
Yes.
can put in a pool, build a
Yes.
pool
Yes.
house. It comes up to.
If it meets the requirements under the building code. Renee?
Renee Wood, 298 Boardman Street. May I suggest that rather than expecting the Board of Selectmen to be experts in the area of easements, that maybe someone from the neighborhood go to the assessor's office and ask where they would find the deed for that land, which would spell it out and have exactly the easement. Because at some point, I would just want to make sure that everybody has correct information. If in fact it comes up for auction at some point, which is always advertised in the Eagle in a huge ad, and there's notices put up around town, but I don't think the selectmen are in a position to discuss the legal nature of this land, and the assessor should be able to point people to the booking page and the record of deeds where they can read exactly what it is. And I think this will save you potentially a problem in knowing what you're buying. And you may all want to go in together and buy it together. Everybody put in a little bit of money.
Thank you, Renee. Okay, I think we've had a good, healthy discussion on the Bunce Road Park proposal. Bob, are you withdrawing that interest in building a park there now?
Oh, most definitely.
Okay, so we're going to take that right off of our to-do list. And let's move on to item number 8, which is discussion and possible action regarding a one-day alcohol permit. So we have a one-day alcohol permit request from Black Sheep Brewing, doing business as Big Elm Brewery, for the Sheffield Fair for September 7th from 11 a.m. Is that 4 p.m. or 7 p.m.?
I think it's 4.
4, I believe.
Okay.
4 p.m.
4 p.m., thank you.
I move to accept that.
We have all the
We do.
documents.
We do.
Excellent. I'll second that.
We have a motion made and seconded to approve the one-day alcohol license for Big Elm Brewery. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a mobile food vendor application. I'm not even going to try to say this gentleman's name. It's a
Do you have any idea of the pronunciation?
Rustic Eats LLC.
That's easy.
I'm going to go to the name of the business, Rustic Eats LLC. A permit for selling food, and they will notify us of dates, but it seems they want to do the Sheffield Fair from 11 to 4 on the 7th as well.
Since all of the paperwork there, I move, although I would love if they would include a menu from now. I was curious what people will be serving.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded to approve Rustic Eats LLC. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action regarding sale of surplus equipment to the town of Norfolk. Rhonda, you want to tell us about this?
Sure. So what it's called is a ditch bank mower. That's all I can tell you about it. I don't know, but we have a new one. We don't use ours any longer. So it's just sitting down there. The town of Norfolk has contacted the highway department and asked if
Excuse me, Linda, we're trying to run a meeting.
if they would be interested, or if the town would be interested in selling it to the town of Norfolk. So according to state procurement laws, we can do that with other governmental entities, but it needs to have a process laid out by the Board of Selectmen. So if you decide that you are in agreement that we sell it to Norfolk, then I will come up with a way for you to do that, procedures, and then you can sign it at your meeting next week.
Would this be for just this one sale, or this would be a policy for doing this again?
I would suggest that you set procedures each time you do this, because each scenario is going to be different.
Normally, we would post something like this on Muni-Bids. I don't know that you know about Muni-Bids. But obviously, if we have someone interested in a piece of equipment that we're no longer using, I think we should probably move forward with the policy to move forward.
I'd second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 10, discussion regarding repairs at Town Park. Rhonda, I haven't had a chance to do any of my research on this, so can we just table this to our next meeting?
Okay.
Okay. Board member items? Lee?
None.
Nothing.
Bob? I don't have anything either. Town administrator items?
No.
Nothing. Great. Public comment?
Pat Levine, 261 East Main Street, and Chair of the Board of Health. Given the candidates, and you've repeated their names as well, that were interested in position on the Board of Health, I wonder, and you've made an appointment, what the criteria used for that appointment were, and how you made that selection.
Well, the board was looking to try to round out the membership on the board, and Nicole comes with some sanitation experience and is able to answer some basic questions on septic and wells. So we felt that you, who's kind of a jack of all trades at this stage of the game as the chairman, and Eileen as the medical person. So we chose to put someone on who had some septic and water experience.
And of the, well, you're not going to make a decision tonight, but of the 3 candidates that are available again for the board, given the fact that it's a Board of Health, I think one representative in the medical field is not actually sufficient, and it would be good to have more than one. But I will just leave it at that.
Well, we will take that comment under advisement, Pat. Thank you for bringing it to us. Anyone else? Hi.
Hi, I'm Rachel Cunningham. I live at 371 Berkshire School Road, and I just wanted to be on the record to thank Renee. I missed the public gathering, to thank her for her public service. So I wanted to take a moment tonight to do that. Thanks.
That's very nice of you. Thank you. Renee.
Good evening, Renee Wood, 928 Boardman Street. I just had 2 things I wanted to ask the board. Could you let me know, if you have it at your fingertips, what's left in the ARPA funds? Because I know you have until the end of this year to allocate that money, and then until the end of 26 to have it spent. And I'm still hoping that there's going to be some money set aside for workforce or affordable housing, particularly in light of the report that was given a couple of meetings ago on the Housing Commission, and more with the help of BRPC. So does anybody know how much money is left?
So it's somewhere around 300,000, Renee. I'd have to take a look to be absolutely sure.
That's fine.
The Select Board and the Housing Commission are setting up a meeting, hopefully for 2 weeks from tonight, to discuss some of those issues. They will discuss the implementation plan that was presented, along with some ideas that the Select Board has going forward.
Wonderful. I know that as you all know, I've been following this pretty carefully. The one thing that continues to stick out is what would it be what would the cost be involved, which is an investigation, to extend the quarry and water lines. Otherwise, you start getting into drills and then public water supplies. And the other one that has failed to be answered to date is, what are the issues with septic? And we all know that septic has advanced a lot, so that everybody doesn't need their own septic field. There can be septic packets, and those 2 issues, I think, are incredibly important. Well, I'm glad to hear about that. The other thing is, there's going to be a lot, I'm switching my hats to the recycling coordinator, please. There's going to be a lot of political signs this year, and they're all going to go in the trash. And I would like to investigate how much it would cost to do probably a 1-day pickup of all political signs. I mean, people would have to bring them to a set destination. But there are 2 firms in Massachusetts that can take all of that signage and recycle it. And I just really would like to try that. There's going to be a grant that I'm going to come to you in November, that we could maybe do things forward, but this has just been bothering me, starting to see signs all over the place. The other thing is, I don't quite know what happened, but it would appear that when the transfer station was fixed, a lot of the signage just vanished. So there's no signage on the plastic recycling, so that container sits there and nobody knows what to put in it. One of the signs vanished from the electronics recycling, which is always gets a lot of stuff. And there were a couple of other things. I just think they got mislaid or something. So I know at some point we will get a grant from Mass DEP. It should be around, at a minimum, $3,500, I think maybe as high as $4,000. And usually that's used for a little bit of signage, but more to haul things. So I'm just wondering if you would allow a certain amount of that money to kind of refresh and put back in place the signage, and what your thoughts might be on. I would have to come to you with a cost estimate of recycling all corrugated signs at a particular time, rather than throwing them in the trash.
You have a problem with her doing a little
No, I
recycling
think,
research?
I think that would be great.
I think that would be very helpful.
I will be back to you with an idea of costs and about the signage at the transfer station. I'll work with Rhonda.
We'll explore what's going on with that. We'll have, see what happened with the signage.
Okay.
For all we know, it could just be parked behind a.
I have looked.
You have.
I don't
I was out cleaning the swap shop. I looked very, very carefully.
We definitely need good signage.
Yes, all right, yep.
It's confusing enough to recycle without signs.
It is very confusing to recycle if you don't know what you're doing. Anyone else?
I like that. I'm Jill Fowler. I'm at 82 Bunce Road. Our property does abut the where you guys wanted to do the park. We also are part of the water easement. That's between our property and the other property. So you guys are gonna put it out to auction. Will that money that you get from the auction, will that go towards fixing the roads and taking down some of the, cutting back the trees?
We're not allowed to designate funds from the sale of land for specific purposes. It goes into the general funds and into.
So it goes into an account that's called proceeds from sale of land, and any use of those funds has to go before you, the voters, at a town meeting.
Okay, so for us to try to get the road fixed, which needs to be fixed for a long time.
Well, I can tell you after tonight's conversation that we'll be speaking to our highway superintendent when he gets back from vacation.
Excellent.
So, you all should be encouraged that if you see something that we aren't going to see, please send us an email. We have wonderful office staff that will share that information. I hear from my neighbors on Berkshire School Road that the sidewalk needs to be weed whacked. So just reach out and let us know what you're seeing. We don't know about it if you don't tell us about it.
I mentioned it quite a few times.
Yeah.
And in 20 years, nothing's been done.
It'll get done.
It'll get done now.
Yeah, well, when the drainage.
This board will get it done for you.
We'll get it done, please.
Yeah.
If it is in serious disrepair.
What I want you to know is it isn't going to happen today.
I understand.
But it will definitely go on the
Your superintendent too, and I understand the funds.
Yeah. It'll definitely go into the work in progress.
And
It's hard to do this stuff.
it is priority driven, the roads are,
There are a
and
lot of tax-paying people.
Sure.
There are a lot of lots on that.
I realize that, but Bunce Road is not a traversed road for, say, Berkshire School Road crossing over to 41. That traverses a lot of people just in travel, where Bunce Road is mainly for just the residents.
We hear you.
We're paving crossroads here.
We hear you.
How many houses are on crossroads this year?
Well, we've also had a lot of drainage boxes that have collapsed, and one was right by ours. It's been down the corner, now the one up around the corner.
And they are
You guys
working on
just-
it.
So,
We hear you. We hear you. And I thank you all for coming tonight and speaking to us. Truly, I do. Okay. Any other business?
Been fun.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, CTSB.